Ever feel like your office has turned into a revolving door of employees coming and going faster than you can actually say mandatory team meeting? Yeah, me too. Let's talk about why workers are walking out like they're allergic to commitment, allergic to the management, and allergic to HR, and how to stop the great workplace escape on this episode.
Voices of Victory podcast show. Voices of Victory podcast show.
It is now time for the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
The revolving door. Why employees ghost like it's a horror movie and how to stop it. Today on Voices of Victory, my name is Mario. If it's your first time on the show, we talk about all things leadership, all things vision, and all things self-esteem and psychology. Let's get down to business. So just welcome again. This is where we're going to tackle all the quirks, all the chaos of modern work culture. And today we're going to dive into what I like to call the revolving door syndrome. And it's why employees are leaving faster than you can actually restock the break room snacks. All right, it's not about the salaries. It's about psychology, purpose, and HR strategies. And by the end of this episode, you're going to learn how to glue the metaphorical door shut and build a workplace where people actually want to stay. And we want long-term, meaningful, sustainable connections and relationships with people. Not have to go through rehiring for the 50th time in 1 month. So picture this. You just hired a bright-eyed new employee. You gave them a shiny welcome kit, and poof, they're gone before their second paycheck even arrived. So what gives? Why? What's going on? Why is this happening? Because guess what? The culprit is often a mix of unmet expectations. A lack of growth, a lack of opportunities perhaps, and let's be real, a lot of companies may not walk the talk when it comes to work-life balance like they say it is. You got to remember, setting these expectations are super crucial, but living up to them is even more crucial. Employees today, guess what? They want more than just a paycheck. They're looking for flexibility, a sense of purpose, and guess what? A leadership that doesn't feel like a game of who's the boss. And you know what this means from a psychological point? This stems from our very innate need for autonomy and, of course, mastery. People don't leave companies. They leave bad managers and boring roles and a lack of proper expectations being set. And you know what? There's a learning nugget to all this. Here's the deal. Retention isn't just an HR buzzword. You know what it is? It's a measure of how well your workplace supports human needs at the end of the day. Research has indeed shown that employees who feel engaged, guess what, are 87% less likely to leave. And you know what? For engagement, it's not about human ping pong. It's not about the break room either, or the kombucha that's on tap. It's about feeling valued, seen, heard, and understood. So, guess what? The moral of the story is you treat employees like an investment instead of a cost. And you know what? There's a good chance they'll actually stick around. Here's how HR has stopped the revolving door before it even turned into a whirlwind or a tornado. Bottom line is we need flexible work policies. Doesn't have to be super stringent. We have to have structure and flow, flexibility as well. Give employees freedom, and guess what? They'll give you loyalty. But with that freedom comes a level of trust. Hybrid schedules, yes, can actually equal happy workers. Purposeful roles, yes, they help employees see the impact of their actual work. The purpose is equaling up to the productivity. And having a transparent leadership that actually communicates things, it keeps communication clear and authentic because no one likes surprises unless it's a cake in the break room. And that is the reality. Growth opportunities are important. And if employees can't see them or they can't grow with them or grow with you, they'll grow away from you. And it's important to offer training. That would be important, right? All kinds of training. Not to mention maybe some mentorship programs and a clear promotion path. And now keep in mind, you want to have interviews where you help them stay, not wait for the exit interviews. So you think of a stay interview. Hey, you've been here for 3 weeks. How are things going? I wanted to check in with you. Wanted to see where your commitment is and how you feel about everything. Very important. Check in regularly. What's keeping you here? What's making you leave? And most of all, what can we do to enrich our relationship with you? It's very important. And there's a big, giant pretzel twist to this all. And here's the big kicker, is retention isn't just about keeping employees. It's about attracting the right ones. You want to attract the right people. Spend the time hiring. I know some people fall into hiring desperation because someone will drop and run. That's the problem with the revolving door, is the revolving door makes one person drop and run because they just don't like whatever they don't like. They drop and run. And now it's like, uh-oh, guess what? We're in trouble. Now we have to hire really quickly. And now we got to move fast. And the downside to that is if you're hiring on impulse for speed just because you need someone, you may overlook the other qualities that are actually necessary, such as staying power, right? Really having a conversation with someone, and you can refer right back to the previous episode before this when I actually talk and discuss all about quiet quitting and how to avoid it in an interview. You can go back to that episode. Because if you're only hiring based on hard skills, you are absolutely missing the point. Yes, culture fit is important. Yes, shared values is important. And you know what else is important? Emotional intelligence. They're all just as critical. And the right hires are the ones who stay, not the ones who just look good on paper. Oh, this resume looks amazing. What about his body language? What about his language? What about he or she's language? Right? Is there an assessment? Is there a test? We have to be careful with those too. Because let me tell you, everybody who's an employee who actually listens to this, it's terrible when you go to a job and you got 5 interviews and 2 tests. It's like, okay, I'm a circus lion and I'm going to jump through every single hoop. And by the time I hit the 3rd hoop, it's like, I'm ready to bounce. This is too much. Sorry. And now other people might see that as, well, it really is a test of how much they really want the job and how much conviction they actually have. Listen, not for nothing. You could have somebody with a great deal of skill. You probably can snag it on 2 interviews. You can probably get somebody very solid on 2 interviews. I look at the interview process as being more important. The body language, the speech, right? Asking the right questions, building rapport, asking, like, why do you want to work here? It's a solid question, isn't it? Right? What attracts you to this company? What about our culture do you actually like? Very important. I think the days of the 5 interviews and 5 assessments are really getting old. And you know what it's doing? It's frustrating people because the moment they get inside the company, then they're like, wow, is this all there is? They get this hollow emptiness. Like, I just jumped through 5 interviews, 5 hoops, 5 assessments, and here I am. And this is it? They don't even have a break room with like kombucha on tap or anything, right? There's no ping pong table, right? There's no Hawaiian shirt Fridays. I mean, come on. Let's be real. We're going to run people through the emotional ringer? Come on. Let's be realistic. No. let's take a step back. Forget realistic. Forget I said that. Let's be innovative. Let's start breaking past old, traditional, habitual patterns that are causing frustration and annoying the living hell out of employees. And it's no wonder why they want to drop and run the moment they are in your door after 5 hoop jumping interviews. Let's be real. So if you got a revolving door problem, here's the problem. Well, and then we want to go right into the actual challenge. You gotta identify one thing your company can do this week just to make employees feel valued. Whether it's a listening session, a career planning meeting, or just letting them leave at 5 p.m. for once. It's not a big deal. Share your progress on social media, right on LinkedIn. Go right ahead. Okay? Go right ahead. It's so important to understand why this is like that. And I'm going to talk about the 5 circus rings. So let's go ahead and break down that fun, incredible, just oh so joy interview. The 5-ring circus, the endless loop interview. You know what it is? It's like you've aced 3 rounds, and just when you think you're done, they hit you with, well, we need one more round with the vice president of our potted plants. And you know, why does it actually annoy people? Because people actually value their time. They have things that they got to do. Maybe kids, maybe family. Of course, they should honor the time of the company. It is mutual. There should be mutual respect for time coming from the company and coming from the candidate. That would be the best win-win scenario. But it annoys people because you know what? It shows that we don't value their time. And it seems like the time just is getting more wasted. And you know what? Having that 5-ring circus interview process is basically just like the meeting about the meeting and about the meeting. You can see my episode on that. And that's what people do. They don't land the plane the first time. They don't land the plane the second time. You really mean to tell me that people have to land the damn plane after 5 interviews? You've got to be kidding me. Let's be real. Let's be absolutely real. And again, I'm not keeping scorn on process, but let's be effective and let's innovate. That's my point. Let's just put it right down, and I'm going to smack that bee's nest right now. Psychology 101 is when an effort feels endless with no clear endpoint. You know what it does psychologically? It creates tons of frustration and burnout. And you know what? They may not even go to round 3, and they'll just waste corporate time, period. It's like running a marathon where the finish line just keeps moving. There's a human factor here. There's human beings that we're dealing with. So unless the job is literally for an endurance athlete, stop testing their patience like it's the Tough Mudder. Really. So another one that we could see is the panel gauntlet. What is it? What is the panel gauntlet? It's 7 interviewers, and they're all staring at you like you're about to confess a crime. And why it annoys people? Because in social psychology, it can be explained and understood that being evaluated by an entire group triggers performance anxiety more than anything. Of course, they have to be confident. Yes, I get that. But if you add the fact that half the panel isn't even paying attention, it feels less like a professional interview and more like a group interrogation. So, there is the human factor. Unless the job involves performing on America's Got Talent, there's no need for the Hunger Games style assessment. It's like you're going to die if you don't make this, right? And that's what's really hilarious about this. The pop quiz surprise is even more funnier. But what is it? It's you're halfway through discussing your experience when they toss in a brain teaser, like how many golf balls fit into a 747. And why does it completely just annoy people is the cognitive load theory that says, hey, let me give you an unrelated stressor here. I'm just going to have you reduce your problem solving ability by making you think of a riddle. Come on. Candidates end up more focused on surviving the question than showcasing their skills. So the human factor in all this is like, unless the job is a senior golf ball counter, what does this even prove? And that's the whole thing. And another thing that happens is the homework hustle. This is a great one. The homework hustle. What is it? Well, it's when they say, please complete this unpaid project that conveniently resembles real work that we could actually use for free. Why it annoys people? Because it borders into exploitation. Hello. Behavioral economics tells us that people hate feeling undervalued and, of course, asking for unpaid labor. You know what that does? It signals a lack of respect for their time and a lack of respect for their expertise. So if you wanted free labor, you should have put up a Craigslist ad and not a listing, not a job listing. And that's what it gets really interesting. Ghosting, right? Talk about ghosting, which I actually discussed in this channel. The ghostly finale. What is that, right? Well, after jumping all through these hoops, the lion is jumping through every single hoop. They vanish like Casper. No feedback, no follow-up, just radio silence. And why does it annoy people? Because reciprocity theory suggests that when candidates actually invest their time and effort, they're expecting some kind of damn closure. And I know it goes both ways, so I'm not heaping scorn on just HR. Ghosting happens on both sides. I get it. But ghosting in this way violates the psychological contract that you have with them, and it leaves candidates feeling disrespected and lost. And it's no wonder why they hit Indeed.com and start looking for something else immediately. Ghosting belongs in dating apps and not in a hiring process, and even ghosting in dating doesn't belong. That's a whole nother can of worms in itself. At least send a breakup text from the company. And the bottom line is these circus rings don't just annoy candidates, they actively harm your brand as an employer. There has to be standards. The best quality hiring standards and onboarding that can be, that money can actually afford. Or time, or expertise. But we have to understand this all shows psychologically that negative interview experiences stick in people's minds and impact their very willingness to even recommend or engage with your company. So, my dear employers, if your interview process resembles a 3-ring or in this case a 5-ring circus, please don't be surprised when top talent decides to sit this one out and go play with the clowns. That's what it is at the end of the day. So what happens? What happens with all this? What happens when employees, right, feel seen, heard, and valued? Do you finally stop the turnover tidal wave? Or is there a deeper workplace culture issue that's actually lurking? See what I'm trying to get at? Do you understand what I'm getting at here? This is all about turnover. It's all about turnover. And we have to dig in and fix where the cultures are rotting like bad fruit and stop people to spread the office gossip and really start to look at the culture, look at the hiring practices, and get clear with what we want to do. I'll catch you on the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day.